I'm very healthy, or
10 big bags.
or I'm just drinking oil.
Lloyd started to dress and try and look more like Michelle Obama because he really looks up to her.
And I've been thinking about it for a year, and I've lost a stone.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
Welcome to the Global Business Anchors podcast, episode 10. Can you believe it? We're now a global podcast.
Oh, global.
We've been charting in the UK, Singapore, France, Denmark, Spain, Australia and Ireland in the last 10 episodes. And this podcast has been a hit around the world in a small number of very specific places. And in this episode, we're talking about the books that have shaped our success and our failures in business so far. What a start, Dan. 10 episodes in.
10 episodes in. It's gone so quickly.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's been fun though, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of fun. And I'm really glad we've built up a nice audience of people that are actually interested in what we talk about. And what idea why.
What are you going to do that's special because this is the 10th episode, Lloyd?
I'm going to announce that we're hiring someone.
Hey.
10 episodes in. The podcast is such a success. We're hiring. Nothing to do with the podcast.
Who are we hiring?
We're hiring.
Well, we don't know who we're hiring yet. I mean, what type of person?
That would be silly if I just said Brian. The agency behind the Business Anchors podcast, in case you didn't know, is Knowlton, and we're looking to bring someone onto our video team, someone creative that can edit video, shoot video, help our team produce amazing video. And we only sort of decided 100% yesterday, so we don't completely know what's going on, but thought we'd tell you if anyone's interested.
Come and work with us.
We're in Kent, and if you're really good at video and stuff and think you could work with a couple of dickheads like us, get in touch. Anyway, into the podcast.
Yes.
So we are, we got a little book club going this episode.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I am. I think at first Dan came up with this idea and said, I want to talk about books. And I thought, that sounds boring. But then I realised books are actually interesting. So as long as we talk about interesting books, it'll be good.
Yeah.
And the sort of books, well, certainly that I'm planning on talking about have kind of really shaped our business and my personal life. And I think they're quite interesting. Hopefully you're talking about some good books as well, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. I think... Yeah, I used to love reading, and then I went off it a bit, and now I'm absolutely stuck into this new book that I'm reading, and that sort of gave me the idea to think. I've literally been messaging you at night like, oh my God, Lloyd, I just learnt this thing in this book. Yeah, we'll getting excited, which is very sad.
We will be discussing that book. It's Agencynomics, if anyone's interested. I also used to love reading, so I was the typical kid that loved reading. Like
bookworm? Were you a bookworm?
I'm very nostalgic about on my top bunk in my bedroom. It was painted blue and yellow like a beach.
Didn't you have dolphin? Dolphin wallpaper.
Dolphin wallpaper. And I was on my top bunk, and I used to every night have my book next to my pillow, and then I used to put it down there after I'd finished reading. Yeah, I used to read every single day. Then kind of got into GCSEs, A-level age and uni, and just got really into vodka and pizza. Stopped reading for quite a while. But yeah, to be honest, audiobooks have really got me back into... You're
an audiobook man,
yeah,
aren't you?
I'd say 9 out of 10 of the books I'm going to say read. Don't know how you read with your ears, but I'm going to just say read.
Listen.
Oh yeah, that's the word.
That's how it is.
That's another word. Listen. Right. I keep telling people I'm looking at them with my ears and they don't get it. I've really got back into it, like while I'm driving, while I'm exercising once a year, all that sort of thing. But I just find it's different to like watching TV or I don't know. It feels like even you can be reading something quite educational or intense, but I still find it relaxing.
Yeah, there's nothing like when you get into because I don't know if you've read or listen to rubbish books, and you kind of even a few hours
lovely
in,
reading to
a few hours
reading
in.
to. Oh God, I don't.
Wow,
I just really don't know the difference between reading and listening.
we'll have a little chat after this, and I'll talk.
Thank you, mate.
But yeah, when you get stuck into a good book, it's a really nice feeling, and at the end you feel some kind of weird sense of achievement that you've learned something.
With this Agencynomics book, Dan has literally been every day messaging like, I just read about this. Just you can tell his excitement of reading the book is.
It's because it's so specific to us. I think a lot of the books we're talking about today, you could be doing anything and get value from, but there's some very specific ones. There's a couple I'm thinking of to do with specific things, but yeah,
nice.
I love it.
Right, before we get into our first book, we're actually giving away a prize in this podcast, guys.
Oh,
it's not a £100 Amazon gift card like episode 1, so don't get too excited.
I think this is better than that.
Do
this
you?
Prize.
Oh, okay.
I got way more excited than this prize than you.
Okay, should we reveal it? I
Go
realise we're just keeping it.
Go on.
They're thinking we're going to offer them like a world cruise or something. So we're going to be giving away a signed copy of a Gary Vaynerchuk book, Ask Gary V book.
A signed copy by
Signed
Gary
copy.
V himself.
Yeah. So I suppose really it's subjective. If you're into Gary V, that's the best prize ever. And if you're not, bit weird. It's just a book with someone with a scribble in the front, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that'd be worth a lot of money in.
Yeah, so
future.
we're gonna if you leave us a review, use the word Gary in your review, but don't just put great podcast, Gary. I want you to creatively get it in there so people reading it wouldn't know that we've asked you to put Gary. Okay, get creative and to be honest, great chance of winning because normally we get 2 or 3 reviews per podcast. So you've probably got a 1 in 3 chance of winning a signed book if you review. So do that. Right, first book. Just because let's talk about even more stuff before we get into it. Quickly, all the books are available. We've set up links on Linktree/Knowlton. So that's linktr.ee/Knowlton.
And how do you spell Knowlton?
KNOWLTON.
And actually, they are affiliate links. So if you buy a £10 book, don't we get 3p?
Probably something like that. So just know if you buy a book for a £5, just know that I'm going to have an extra 12 pence in my pocket next week. So
hopefully you can buy some better clothes.
Oh, okay. On that note, into book number 1. Dan, I'm going to get you to introduce this because you read this first and are better at speaking than me.
Okay, I know the difference between eyes and ears.
And I will be looking the whole way through to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so this book, I'm glad we're starting with this book because it's called The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters. And it's a book an audiobook that I listened to, and I think you've listened to as well.
I don't really get... listen to it. Okay, yeah.
I must admit, though, I think it's something like a 20-hour audiobook, and I'm talking about it, and it's amazing. I think I listened to about 6 hours. And
it must have been good then.
No, but the lessons I learned from the part I listened to were changed us and the way we run business. So basically, Chimp Paradox, it's about how you think and how you react to things, right? So in the Chimp Paradox, they talk through these 2 different ways of thinking, 2 different parts of your brain. So the human part, which is the rational part, and this is in the front lobe. And
getting a bit scientific there.
And the inner chimp, which is the other part of the brain they talk about.
Is that the scientific
name? That's actually what they call it.
Yeah, cool.
And that's the emotional part in the limbic system, right? So the interesting part about this is whenever you're thinking about something or you react to something, there's different ways you can react to it. So if you react with your chimp brain, your chimp reaction, you're reacting based on emotion. Mm-hmm. So for example, one example is, let's say you gave me a piece of feedback, Lloyd, that was a bit critical about me, and I'm rubbish at taking feedback, so this does actually happen all the time. And you're like, Dan, I think you're really good.
Should I just do it?
Go on.
Dan, sometimes your mood is too low on a podcast and you're boring and then you take 5 minutes to get into it.
Why are you saying that about me? That's just pissed me off.
Just because that wasn't real.
That's it. So that wasn't real. So that was me reacting with my chimp brain, which was my emotional part. Okay.
By the way, guys, I got a C for GCSE at drama. In case you're wondering why that was so realistic, that exchange. Okay,
so let's do another role play. Okay. So that was the chimp reaction. Okay. The other part, the human, the rational part of the brain that reacts based on facts. Yeah. Let's do this again. So go on, tell me how rubbish I am.
Okay. Yeah. Dan, I'm sorry to say, but your hair looks ridiculous. I don't know why you've put highlights in it. It really is strange.
Thank you for that critical feedback, Lloyd. You've really touched on a point there. I have highlighted my hair, and some people do believe that it's a bit ridiculous. So I'll take your points on board, and to move forward with this, that will help me. Thank you, Lloyd. Have a great day.
That was very different. Did you do GCSE drama?
So, can you tell the difference there?
I think I can actually.
So I was reacting based on facts and not emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we've just done a very weird role play, but what this really taught me is through our business, things happen all the time where we've always acted on emotion. So we don't win a pitch, or one of us is supposed to organise something and plan for something. He doesn't plan effectively, and we give feedback saying, "Oh, you didn't plan for that." Like, for example, Lloyd didn't properly charge the batteries in some of the camera equipment today, so we just had to restart this thing again. So normally I could, if I was didn't read this book, I'd be in my chimp mode and say, "Lloyd, you're a twat. Why didn't you charge the batteries? It's one small thing you need to do to make this podcast work."
Although I do think you're subtly actually saying that to me. He's using this so his chimp can come out.
Whereas now I've read the book and I understand how to react. I just used my human rational part and sort of said, "Okay, let's get new batteries."
And I do. So since reading this, I actually kind of, and there's another book that's fairly similar we're going to talk about that I got this from. I still fight that day to day. So actually, and I've got much better, but when we put videos together, whether it's me doing the majority of the work or one of our team, Dan quite often gives feedback, has a look and gives feedback, which completely makes sense. And sometimes he's negative about something in the video. And I know myself now. I do naturally get defensive. It doesn't matter how valid his feedback is, because it's something me or one of the team has put effort into.
Exactly
I think
exactly
my immediate thing is thinking,
"Piss off,
well,
Dan."
you being a twat. Oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear in your ears, listeners. But that is, I can feel that chimp mode.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of go, well, hang on, Dan's actually giving this feedback just because he's wants this to be the best it can be, and it's helping us get to that point.
Yeah.
I fight that chimp every day, and I'm getting better at fighting him.
Well, even what I was going to say was the key takeaway, and in the book as well, one of the key learnings is to sort of overcome that chimp reaction is to first of all be aware of it, which is what you're saying. So hopefully, like, now you're listening to this, listeners, you're kind of aware of the basic concept, but do read the whole book because it's really good. But you're aware of the basic concept of that emotion reaction, and then actually realizing you've got that reaction, and rather than reacting with a chimp, changing how you react.
Yeah, because I suppose I feel like, I'm not quite there because I fight the chimp. But I suppose that's all. The emotional reaction is always going to be there, but it's understanding that that's natural, but not going with that. I suppose, like, road rage or something, you can think that person's a dick and just nearly made me crash, but there's not actually any benefit of like shouting at them or do anything like that. You may as well just go, "Oh, that was close. Okay, well, he might have had a bad day. Now let's get on with my day."
And with us, we always call each other about stuff that's going on in life and business, and we openly, because we just talk about everything and we're very open, we just share with each other, "This happened and it really pissed me off," and I didn't react with my chimp. We even reference it, don't we? And that helps us because it was like, good, well done for not, because that would have been well annoying.
Yeah. And also with anyone in social media or doing anything online with your business, I think really important to learn this lesson and read this book to get more out of it, because sometimes you get negative comments about things online, and I definitely would have caused a much more negative situation a number of times if I actually responded with my immediate what I wanted to respond to people. Whereas
it's like sitting on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like kind of what's the word? Not festering, but let it. That's a weird word. But letting.
Yeah, just sit on it and let it fester.
I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. When something happens, rather than reacting,
like sleep on it.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Don't know, maybe.
Kind
of. Because then you have, I guess, less of an emotional response. The second time round, 24 hours later, that emotional response is gone, and then you have like a logical, what actually is the best thing to do in this. Yeah. Good book. So that's the Chimp Paradox, the mind management program to help you achieve success, confidence, and happiness by Professor Steve Peters.
Yep.
And out of 100, what would you give that, Dan?
Oh, well, the takeaway is probably like a 90 for me. But do you know what I found boring? Because it was such a long book and the reader didn't have that much of an interesting voice. You know, that has such a big difference.
Yeah. So that might be a one to read and maybe not listen to.
Yeah, I would. Cool. I would actually recommend that, definitely.
Okay, so that gets a 90, but the person who read it gets a
7.
Nice. Okay, so the second book we're talking about is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you haven't read this?
I haven't read this, but I've listened to James Clear on Steve Bartlett's podcast quite a few times, and he says really interesting stuff. So I'm interested to hear
So I've never had any experience of the author other than reading this book.
Oh, here we go.
So that's quite interesting.
When did you read this, and did you listen to it?
Probably about a year ago. I listened to it with my ears. Yes.
What were you excited to get this?
I'm getting there. And yeah, the kind of key takeaway that I got is these atomic habits. So a lot of us set goals or things we want to do. Like for me, a number of times.
I want to be a famous singer.
Yes. So Dan wants to be a famous singer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's thrown me a bit.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, but so for me, I was thinking, I want to be a no. I want to go to the gym 6 times a week.
Okay.
And you'd think, great, that would really have a
done,
positive
Lloyd.
effect on your life.
Yeah.
But because that's such a huge change from my current lifestyle of going for a long walk 4 times a week and maybe exercising vigorously 1 to 2 times a week, and that's probably pushing it. The likelihood is basically that's if I go for that, I might do it for a week and then it's not going to happen. But these atomic habits, it's basically doing really small things towards a goal and things that you definitely will be able to do.
So is that like if you think about going to the gym 6 times a week, that's a small step to go and do?
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it for a year and I've lost a stone. No, so an example with that gym thing, it would be not committing to going to the gym at all, but just starting a habit of saying each night before bed, I'm just going to put my gym clothes next to my bed.
I remember
and
you saying
you're not even committing to going to the gym, and it's fine if you don't. But he kind of says the amount of time, if you wake up every morning and you look at your gym clothes and they're there, at some point you're going to think, this is stupid that every night I take these out and put them away again.
That's the same as going to the gym, Lloyd.
Yeah. And you kind of think, oh, what am I doing? Right, I'm gonna go today, or even setting a goal of, I am gonna walk into the gym 6 days a week, and saying to yourself, doesn't even matter if I walk in. But honestly, say that, because once you actually walk in, you're probably going to do a workout.
I mean, if you didn't.
And it might only be 20 minutes, but that's 20 minutes more 6 times a week than you would have done. And then at some point, you're going to go, why am I doing 20-minute workouts? Like, I've come all the way here. I'm going to do an hour. So it's those little things that kind of like build into these big...
I can relate to that because when I was going to the gym before they all closed, I've noticed a pattern of when I got my bag ready the night before and downstairs by the door, that was me telling myself I was going. Yeah. But then if I had an inkling like, I might not go tomorrow, I didn't get my bag ready. And then it was easier to not go because my bag wasn't ready in the morning.
Then your excuse is, oh, well, I haven't got my bag ready. And it makes no sense. You can just get it ready.
But I guess even if I was thinking of not going in the morning, I should just get my bag ready because then I haven't got that barrier of, that's a really, interesting.
And a key takeaway of that as well is he kind of mapped over time a 1% increase in any kind of activity or goal over time, cumulatively, is like an exponential curve. So in like, if you just did, say I just did 1 press up today. If I just increase that by 1, oh no, that wouldn't really work. But anyway, anything you increase by 1% each day, it goes in like 20 years,
compounding effect.
Yeah, it'll have a huge effect on your life that you've been increasing by 1%.
So
whereas a 1% decrease, obviously, goes in the opposite direction.
So I'd be interested, since reading this book, what atomic habits have you started? There's definitely things, because I know we've spoken about stuff.
Yeah. Well, no.
You think of like, and I'm putting you on the spot a bit.
Yeah.
But
genuinely
eating more healthily, you're doing stuff with that.
Yeah. So eating healthily, for me, it used to be either I'm very healthy or
10 Big Macs.
Or I'm just drinking oil. No, not. But I used to have the feeling of, so today, say I've got a healthy lunch. If someone said, "Do you want a cookie?" and I ate one, I then go, I've ruined it.
You'd lob the healthy lunch out the window.
Get on the phone, Big Mac meal. Which doesn't make any sense. Whereas actually,
you could have
those small things of actually saying, oh no, I've had a cookie, but everything else I've kept to my calorie limit and stuff. So I've just had the good habits around that. it's better. It's that 1% better than
Yeah.
not doing it, and cumulatively.
Yeah.
And I do think, yes, it's things like that.
I think
I think it applies in your business as well. Like
Mm.
taking one small action each day that takes 5 minutes over time is going to have a big effect.
For us, I think that just made me think of our Content Thursdays, where our small action was to schedule out every Thursday a week in our business to work on our business, and it's worked.
Yeah,
because we've actually
yeah.
that
The
is one
small action
thing,
was
isn't it?
literally just in our calendar, put a recurring thing that
As
says,
if it's important. We don't book over it or anything.
yeah, and we didn't say this is exactly what we're going to film. This is how we just literally said, there's the time, it's scheduled.
Yeah.
And that was the habit that we got into.
And a few times we probably turned up to a Thursday not prepared and thought, "Ooh, what are we going to do?" And then we
'cause we have
realised
to do it. It's in there.
we should have. Cool.
Yeah. Nice.
I like it.
So don't forget, guys, we're going to talk about a lot more books, but if any of these do interest you, it's Linktree, linktr.ee/Knowlton, which is KNOWLTON, if you want to buy or download any of these books.
Interesting.
Next one is Mark Norman Knowlton's making another appearance because this is one of his favourites.
Yes.
But it's Who Moved My Cheese? An amazing way to deal with change in your work and in your life. Spencer Johnson.
So I'm going to try and say what the book's about now, because there's a really interesting learning.
It isn't your typical kind of business. Well, just the fact it's called Who Moved My Cheese, and
it's a very short story with lessons learnt, basically.
Right. Okay.
And they've actually got a kids version as well, which I can't remember the name of it. But if you've got children, then
Called Who Moved My Cheese String. It's not. It's just a weird dad joke. Okay.
Oh, that was funny. So there's 4 characters in a maze. 2 of them are mice. 2 of them are people. Okay. And in the maze, every day, cheese turns up in the center of the maze, and
Sounds wicked.
and the four people, the 2 mice and the 2 people, go and find the cheese, and great, you could eat some cheese. They love their cheese.
Just to for the listeners, so we can picture it properly and imagine it. What type of cheese is it?
Oh, something really stinky. Like I love a bit of stink. Like I forgot the name of it.
Stilton.
Not Stilton. There's an even nicer, creamier one.
Roquefort.
Roquefort. Yes.
Oh, okay. Now I'm drooling imagining this. Okay.
The funny thing is, I've actually got saliva in my mouth.
Yeah, I have. It's making it harder.
Right. So there's
Right.
Roquefort.
Sorry. Carry on. Right. Carry on telling us about Who Moved My Roquefort.
There's Roquefort in the centre of the maze. They keep going back there. They love Roquefort. One day, the Roquefort isn't there. Right? How annoying is that? The Roquefort's not there. So first of all, the 2 mice think, "Oh, the Roquefort's not there. Let's look around the maze."
Sorry, I can't stop laughing every time you say Roquefort.
Okay, I'll say cheese then.
Okay, thank you.
One day the cheese isn't there, and the 2 mice think, "Oh, the cheese isn't there. I'm gonna look for the cheese somewhere else, because it must be somewhere else." They scurry off. The 2 people complain, and basically say, "What? The cheese isn't here. What's going on?" And they sit and complain. They don't go and look for other cheese. They just complain. The cheese is gone. So one day, one of the humans, rather than complaining, instead of complaining, they go off like the mice did and go and find the cheese. And they eventually go around the maze and they find the cheese. They're like, great, got some Roquefort again. And they find the other mice there who've been eating the cheese, and they're all happy and everything because they've realised something's changed and they've changed what they're doing.
Aren't there hygiene issues though? Are they still going to eat that when the mice have been eating it?
Yes, but that's just irrelevant at the minute.
Right, okay, all right. Yeah.
Vermin. And so anyway, almost there. Then go back to the other human. They continue to complain about how rubbish it is that the cheese has moved. I mean, you'd be annoyed if the cheese moved.
I feel annoyed for him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But he just kept complaining. And then he died.
Bloody
because he didn't find any more cheese and he couldn't eat anything, could he?
What a twist.
I know. And basically the moral of the story is all about change and how we deal with change. And it's just like that. It just made me remind that change curve of, when something happens differently, it's just like social media platform updates when it changes to, and everyone's like, what the hell, it's changed, it's horrible, we hate it, you're rubbish, Facebook. Then everyone sort of comes to the realization that it's changed and they get used to it and stop complaining, and then it's just the norm. So yeah, it's just some really interesting takeaways around how to deal with change, because when anything changes, everyone hates it, and it's
even now in the world with everything going on, lots of change and things, and there are a lot of people shouting, "Oh, I don't like change."
We've always done it this way, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Why are we changing?
And then other people that are embracing it and go, right, yeah, how can we best move forward?
But again, sort of self-reflecting, us, when things change, you know, we've definitely both react with that reaction because it's just ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Oh, we're really happy this thing's plodding along nicely. It's just like for us currently, our whole business is focused around social media marketing and producing really creative content on social media. One day, that's not going to work.
Will we die?
No, we won't die.
Oh, okay.
We will die one day. But one day, that's not going to work, and we're going to need to evolve to do something differently.
Yeah.
Now, if we just stick and we're romantic about, social media's so good though, why can't we just carry on that? Then the business is going to slowly deteriorate because it's not going to work.
Because I think with that kind of example for our own business, so we probably 2 years ago, we were most of our business was around Facebook ads and organic Facebook stuff, getting results for our clients and for us. And algorithm changed, much harder to get organic Facebook results, more expensive with Facebook ads as well, if you don't do them well. And we could have gone, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But actually we embraced it. We worked out how we could still get that value, adding creativity, and that's how in our business the creative video side of it was now the really valuable thing, because we can still get good results on Facebook if we use this. And also, not only that, making us look, where else could we do this stuff that we'd get results? So over the last couple of years, we've been moving much more over to LinkedIn. And for us and our clients,
there,
and we now get big opportunities through that and get results for our clients through that. So embracing that change.
We're constantly changing. Like, do you remember when I used to be big on Snapchat? I remember speaking at an event in Ireland, and in the Independent, which is a fairly well-known newspaper, the headline was, what was it? Something really cringy, but it was like, Snapchat guru explains to the audience how businesses can use Snapchat. You think of Snapchat now, it's just, who uses Snapchat? I mean, imagine if we were still... still the Snapchat guru. Yeah,
if you just stuck with it and thought, no, I'm going to stick with it. Snapchat, you would die with Snapchat.
Yeah, like the mice and the cheese.
Yeah, the biggest impact on mine and Dan's lives currently within the business is Agencynomics by Peter Hall. Sorry if I've said your name wrong. But doesn't he say he's Pete, not Peter?
Yes, he does.
Well, why did he put on the book Peter?
Because that's his actual name.
Pete, come on.
But how did
Pete Hall and Spencer Gallagher?
You were the first person to listen to the audiobook. How did you discover it and stuff?
So I'll give you a bit of inside knowledge of our business. So I come up with brilliant stuff, and then
elaborate on stuff. Let's stop just saying stuff.
Okay, strategic things we can do in the business, new directions we can take, new actions we can take to achieve our hopes and dreams in life. And I say it to Dan. So I listened to Agencynomics about a year ago.
Did you listen with your eyes?
Yeah. And basically for anyone building or wanting to build kind of an agency style business.
Or a marketing company.
Yeah.
Like you
And I would argue most service-based companies could learn a huge amount from it. It's just brilliant. So it's a guide to... so Spencer and Pete have basically been there, done it, and they've worked with a huge
person agency called Blue Halo,
and then have been working with a huge amount of agencies since doing that. They've got a huge wealth of knowledge in the world, and not only have they made this book interesting, but it's kind of like a how-to book. So anything I could have possibly wanted to learn whilst growing a small agency, it was just there, and I kept reading more and more. Oh, this is amazing. And so that was about a year ago, and I said all this stuff to Dan. And he was kind of...
I said it. That's
no,
good.
he did say...
I patted him on the head. Good boy.
Yeah, good boy. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you do your big CEO stuff. I'll just be here doing my stuff. And then a year later, Dan started reading it, and Dan is currently going through exactly the same process I did of being absolutely amazed and thinking, this is basically the Bible to growing our business. Yeah. But it really is. We've spoken about it before in the podcast, but we've got our 2030 plan in our business. So basically our goals to 2030 and the actions we need to take to get to where we want to be.
Yeah.
And this Agencynomics book sort of, in reality, made up 75% of that plan. You know, stuff that I got from that book and learnt from the book about agency growth and growing a business in general. So thank you, Spencer and Pete. I've never spoken to you, but if you're listening to this, you are currently and will be having a huge impact on our business in the future.
And I discovered them. I think when you said about it, I was like, oh, that sounds good, and that was great. But then recently, how did I discover it? That they released a podcast called Agencynomics, and I remember someone spoke about it, and then I searched it, and I just continued to listen to all the episodes. They basically get different agency owners on to talk about their insights into growing an agency.
I think it's safe to say.
And then I bought the book.
If you have an agency, want an agency, or an interested in any agency, I would just say read that book and listen to the podcast. It's by far the best thing related to the agency world that I've found.
I'm just thinking of some specific examples of the... and I know what the good bits are because I take a photo of them and put them in our work WhatsApp group because I'm well excited.
Every day.
Like a recent one is to do with pitching, which is a big part of agency life, and how... he tells a story of like they were going into companies pitching and not winning business, and then one time they asked the client to see the other pitches, and they were just a bazillion times better. They were like personalized, they produced videos, specific web pages for the pitch. They brought in custom made, if you're pitching for 100 grand's worth of work, to invest even a few thousand in custom made props and stuff, that's the kind of thing that you obviously have to know what you're doing. You have to be good at relationship building and demonstrate the value you can provide, but it's those extra touches. And it just made me think with our pitches, I thought they were all right, but now I'm thinking, wow, we need to up our pitching game.
We can do a lot better. Yeah, I'd actually forgotten about that part, so I think I need to listen to that.
And another thing that you started doing, which again, people listening might be thinking, oh, you should do that anyway, is the whole forecasting our budget. Before, talk about what we used to do, because it's quite funny.
I think it's amazing.
We made a profit.
So we were, so we're still a small business, but we were at a point where, Dan and I were earning the money we needed to survive. We'd hired someone, so we probably had 3 people in the business. But at that point, 4 years in, maybe even 5 years in, we just used to get to the end of the month, kind of look and go, and how much profit we made or how much of a loss we made was a complete surprise. We look back and go, oh, okay, cool. Made a couple of thousand profit this month. Okay, cool, brilliant. Or it would just be a complete surprise again. So end of the month, do the calculations.
We lost.
Oh God, we lost £6,000. How did we do that?
And then, but we know that, and each month we go, oh, okay. Anyway, on to the next month. Let's do it again.
So, it may sound stupid, but I do think a huge amount of businesses just look at things retrospectively. So it happens, and then they look back and go, oh, that was good, or oh, that wasn't good. But since listening to this book, we actually forecast all of our spending and our income, and then we
forecast our profits.
I could tell you our forecasted profits all the way up to December this year, and I can tell you that if we win no more work for the whole of the rest of the year, our business will still be fine. And so, what a good place to be to think.
This is good for us to know about hiring someone, isn't it? Because you did this all yesterday.
Yeah, literally, it's a big part of our decision making in hiring a new person, making that final decision yesterday, because we could look at the whole rest of the year and have a fairly accurate picture of a worst case scenario. Like I said, we could win no more work and the business would be okay. Yeah. So obviously we're thinking,
unless I'm not doing,
we got 7 months of the year left. If we win no more work, we should probably give up anyway. But just nuggets like that make a light bulb moment that make you think, God, there's so many improvements we can make, and they literally tell you how to do it. So that's brilliant.
Great book.
Yeah, really
Agencynomics. Go get it.
So moving on swiftly to book number 5. Oh, by the way, I keep forgetting to do it, but how much would you give Agencynomics out of 100?
Oh man, that is 97.
Yeah,
it'd be difficult to top it just because how relevant it is to us. I think
I'd give it 98 just in case we ever meet Spencer and Pete and they like me more than you. Then
okay. Oh, one thing about that book though, Spencer and Pete, if you're listening, which you won't be because you don't give a shit about us, but basically there's loads.
That's fine, by the way.
There's loads of spelling mistakes in the book. I've never read a book with so many grammatical and spelling mistakes. Which their recent podcast, they mentioned this and they said they get loads of messages of people saying that. I was just like, man, this book's so good, but you got all these spelling mistakes. But I suppose it's irrelevant. But
cool.
Love you anyway, Spencer and Pete.
So number 5, a book I haven't read and know nothing about, but Dan obviously has. TED Talks, the official TED Guide to Public Speaking by Chris Anderson.
Yeah. So this book is incredible. Don't switch off if you never think you're going to speak in public, because no matter what you speak, most people speak. So if you speak, then this is going to be relevant to you. Okay. So don't think this is about speaking on stage in front of loads of people. It's basically the founder of TED Talks, you probably heard of, Chris Anderson, has an incredibly interesting book which talks to you about how to effectively communicate and share your ideas to other human beings, basically. And it is shaped around doing it on a stage, but all the lessons you can take from it if you're just speaking to other people.
So it could be anything. It could be that, I've got this business and I want to spread the word about my business.
Yep.
Or it could be, I'm really into this charity thing and I just want to be able to convince people that it's important for the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
And actually I listened to this on the audiobook and then I bought the paperback. But the great thing about this is Chris Anderson reads it and he's got a really interesting voice to listen to, which sounds so weird.
It makes such a difference, though. It really does.
His voice, like, you're sort of, I don't know.
I downloaded 2 audiobooks this week. I finished one and I listened to 5 minutes of the other and gave up. And it purely because of the voice. It's probably a brilliant book.
Do you know what? There's a lot of books that have a very robotic American accent.
That was exactly like the one I gave up
and
with.
it's just, nothing against Americans. It could be a robotic English accent. But a lot
nothing
of them,
against robots. We like all people and machines.
But yeah, so anyway, one of the key takeaways, which is just mind-blowing for me now, is about speaking, communicating on stage. Is he talks about when you get in front of an audience of people or in front of anyone and you want to communicate your ideas to them, right? We're all out there trying to communicate our ideas to the world. But when you start communicating that idea, the people you're communicating with, if they don't know you and they don't trust you already, then they're going to have a barrier up. Their brain is very precious. Their brain holds all of their ideas and they're not going to let you in with your ideas and you need to break down those barriers before they let you in. So, which completely resonates with me, because when you speak on stages to a completely new set of people, they're there judging you, and they're judging you and thinking, is this someone I like? Is it someone I'm going to get on with? And the way you act helps shape whether they trust you and let your ideas into their brain. He said one of the best ways to break down that wall is vulnerability. Okay, so showing that you can be vulnerable. I'll give you an example. If you were to get on stage in front of loads of people and say, you know what, guys, I am so clever and I'm going to share all of my clever ideas with you.
Which would be your natural state. So this must have been a real good...
So what would you think, Lloyd, what would you think of me if I said that?
I'd probably think of a horrible word and not bother listening to you anymore, because I probably would lose respect for you.
Okay, great. So alternatively, if I said to you, if I said you were in the audience and I said, hi everyone, this is one of sort of my first time speaking, so I'm a bit nervous, but hopefully I'm going to deliver this for you. I've been quite excited to do this and a bit scared, but yeah, here we go.
I think this might be rubbish, but he seems nice.
That wasn't a well thought out example, but,
no, but to
you
be
get
honest,
the gist.
I actually would listen to the second person more, even though I genuinely...
Even if they weren't as clever and weren't as good at speaking.
Yeah. I would 100% pay more attention to that second person, thinking, he's trying, and I want to, let's give him a go. And
because we always want to egg on the underdog. We always want to cheer on, the person that's already there and knows it all. We're always trying to shoot them down in general. The person who's the underdog, who's like, doesn't know what they're doing, we're like, go on, Tim, go on.
Which is why a lot of the engagement in our content is always, yeah, Lloyd, go on, yeah. Dan's been speaking on stage for years and stuff.
So true.
I basically just poke my head into the content. Everyone's like, yeah, Lloyd, yeah.
Like, even, remember when we used to speak at social day events, big up social day, good social media event, whenever I was on stage, people would literally just shout out, where's Lloyd? Or I'd mention Lloyd. I'd say, oh yeah, Lloyd's here with me today. And they go, yeah, Lloyd, the better Knowlton brother. Because they'd all be sort of cheering him on. As if I sort of keeping him in a cage at the Knowlton office and he doesn't come out much.
It wasn't a cage, it was just handcuffs to the radio.
Yeah, so it was just an incredible takeaway. And for me, it helped shape my whole strategy around speaking after that. And completely, I never did used to go on stage and go, oh, I'm the best. But it makes you think, how can I share some vulnerability and just be more of a human that people can relate to, rather than I know it all and I'm going to tell you what I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, great book. TED Talks, the official TED Guide
Great
to Public
book,
Speaking.
but I mean, we're not expert in books. We don't know everything. We're just giving this a go. So, I mean, if you want to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
I see what you did there, Lloyd.
Get it? So the final book we're talking about in this episode, there is going to be a part 2 that's available now, by the way, so don't stop listening, and there's lots of more books in that part. Learn to talk, Lloyd. But the 6th book is actually a book I got a bit of stick from my friends from listening to, and it's called Becoming by Michelle Obama.
That is such... You're a very feminine person and a very in touch with your emotions. That just sounds... Nothing against that. That's a good thing, Lloyd.
Yeah, good.
But it just sounds like something that you'd read.
But no, I do think, interestingly, because I was thinking... So some people might think, it's like Dan, it's obvious why you got stick for that. And I think, I guess it is because most of the time we kind of... We relate to people that are similar to us, I guess. I was trying to work this out. Why did I get stick for... So if I read a book by a man in the UK that was into business and a bit weird, you'd probably go, yeah, makes sense. If he was chubby, it'd make even more sense. Yeah.
If you had bad breath, then geez, you're onto a winner.
Oh, very good. But yeah, so I think that's where I got a bit of stick. Obviously, Michelle Obama is an American black woman, and also she was the First Lady of the United States. I'm not close to being any of those. So, but interestingly, with the state of the world at the moment, the whole Black Lives Matters, I do think it made me kind of think, why did I read that? And I thought, actually, it's because I wanted to have a perspective
from someone
of
else
life
that's different
from
to you.
Yeah, someone that's completely different to me. And like I said, I'm not an American black woman.
Aren't you?
No. And so actually, it's basically Michelle Obama's autobiography, by the way. But it's really interesting because obviously Barack Obama becoming president was a major event in history. But I actually found Michelle Obama's story of her growing up probably even more interesting.
How much does she give away? Is it like, does she tell you deep dark secrets and stuff? It's not like, I did this.
It's very
thing.
honest.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I thought because it's her upbringing was completely different to mine, different country, completely different type of life. So it's really interesting. And then obviously you get to the part in her adulthood where her husband becomes the president and she's First Lady of the United States. And that's really interesting to have like an insider view on that. But yeah, it made me kind of think, why do I read or listen to books that people wouldn't say, oh, that's for a 30-year-old man in the UK?
Wasn't it?
But it was really interesting.
Isn't it like a 20-hour audiobook as well?
Oh god, it's long. I think it's 24 hours or something. So I didn't just do a 24-hour binge because that would have been.
And I have noticed
intense.
Lloyd started to dress and try and look more like Michelle Obama because he really looks up to her.
Yeah. Yes, no, that's just my strange dress sense. But yeah, I'd highly recommend that book to anyone, just as an interesting read, to be honest, and a good perspective if you're not similar to Michelle Obama like me.
Cool.
And to my friends, I really enjoyed it, so shut up. Right, if you want to read or listen to any of these books, we've set up links so it's not frustrating for you trying to find them at linktree/Knowlton. So that's linktr.ee/KNOWLTON. I've got one question before we go, Dan. If you could send one book to space for aliens to find to learn about us, what would it be?
Oh, that is a really good question. I've got one.
Yeah.
Well, to learn about us, I'm going to talk about a book in the next
Just
part.
what book would you want to send to space for? It doesn't really matter why.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
Because it's just how to be a nice person.
Right.
I mean, we're going to talk in more detail, but what about you?
I think I'd just send up like Jamie Oliver 15-minute meals or something just to really confuse them. Go, right, so this planet, 15 minutes seems to be time. They try and create food in a short... That's what their life's
about.
Imagine if you got one book to judge like an entire planet. Why do they want to make this food quickly? Why are they... And who's this god on the front with his blonde mullet?
Yeah,
bit weird. Anyway, Thanks, guys, for listening. Part 2's coming up right now. It's available already, so keep on listening because I'm going to reveal the cringiest story ever of when I met Gary Vaynerchuk.
That was so horrible.
We're going to talk about that. It's to do with books as well. But yeah, we'll let you know. And don't forget us to review us with the word Gary in it, and you'll have the chance of winning that signed Gary Vaynerchuk book. So see you in part 2 in a minute. If you don't carry on listening straight away, by the way, I just think there are some better Business Anchors listeners, and you should look up to them. So, yeah, oh God, I've forgotten words. Bye!
Listen to part 2.